Hey there, it's a Dad Who Games. Allow me to present to you item WFC E10, Transformers Grapple Action Figure, with a retail value of $31.49, having come out in 2020. If you can find it, no promises on the price, unless it's broken, but more on that later. We're going to be unboxing this later in the video, but first, why Grapple takes its place among my collection. And it begins with the original construction crane and passionate architect. One of the biggest G1 Autobot vehicles, and it was only recently that I realized that his fists were black and that I had never lost a pair in orange. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Greg, and I'm just a Dad Who Games. Seriously though, I always thought his fists were orange. But since using Transformerland.com to isolate which pieces go with which robot, the realization was strong, and now I can confidently say that I have all of his pieces. As mentioned in my last video, from here on out, my Transformers content is going to be all for the love of Transformers. And that's why I've tapped my affinity for pop culture and my love of the color purple to present my toys with a UI inspired by the shop at home cable channels of the past. QVC, the Home Shopping Network. If you were around in the 90s, chances are you've stopped by one of these channels while watching TV. I also did my take on the cringe family photo with my thumbnail. Maybe you should take another look at that. Nonetheless, we're going to take a closer look at the classic to better inform on why the new Grapple, who, like all the other War for Cybertron toys thus far, is a great improvement on an already solid toy. Also, in the event that you're only here to see Grapple be transformed, you can also skip ahead to like the 10-minute mark. I have a non-commentaried transformation session thing. But why would you not want to hear me? Anyway, let's get to this, and maybe I might be able to convince you to subscribe. Of all my G1 toys, Grapple here is in the best condition. Yeah, there's the paint scuffs from having actually played with this, but all parts move perfectly with only a loose bit here and there. He wasn't one of my super favorites as a kid because of my default cool cars are cooler than construction vehicles mindset. That being said, Grapple succeeded where other Transformers have failed. He actually looks like the Grapple from the cartoon. The only random difference was that the toy had a black helmet on, where it was orange in the cartoon. But Grapple is no stranger to recolors. Inferno, Road Hauler, an alternate coloring for Inferno? But they sold you on the recolors because they were included in the cartoon. Well, at least Inferno. But still, the sentiment is permanent. Grapple also had some really articulated arms that lent well to attempting to make him look actionable in these action shots. In 1985, he cost only $10. Which I'm not going to whine and say, back in my day and all that. I know inflation is a bitch, but doesn't more money mean less value? So the more money you have, the less valuable you are? There's something profound here, I could feel it. But here he is, the War for Cybertron upcycle, fresh from delivery. This is the first of 5 modern takes of the classics headed my way. I recently made a sale of some less than favorable Transformers, and as promised in my last video, I recycled the value to have my personal collection complete. For each of my G1 Autobot vehicles, I have acquired the modern evolutions. That's why I was stoked to get at this, my biggest of the War for Cybertron cast. I'm not really sure why I took the time to cut the tape. I know that's a thing for some, but the conditions of these boxes rarely yield value in their preservation. I'm honestly thinking of using the boxes to build a display for my collection. Now, the exhuming process you're about to watch is one of the most frustrating unboxings of a Transformer I have ever experienced. I've included some, if not all, of the headaches endured with this packaging. And it started with this clear plastic mold. I had seen Grapple on store shelves previously, and I had thought, from a glance, that the phenomenon of bigger Transformers having less detail would be present first laying hands on it. I quickly recognized that this Grapple looks fantastic. The fine details and the overall style of the robot form does exactly what I love about these War for Cybertron toys. Look like the cartoon. That being said, Grapple comes with 3 accessories: the sawed-off shotgun reminiscent weapon, a grapple attachment, and the arc welding tool. Or is the gun the tool? I'm not really sure. What it is something that looks like a nozzle of a fire hose. Perhaps a ghost of Inferno? The last thing I want to do is break a brand new toy, but being delicate with this plastic was just not a possibility. There will be many struggles unboxing and transforming Grapple throughout the video because I wanted to provide full disclosure. It happened more than I had expected and ate a lot of time fiddling around. Don't worry, we'll speed through the headaches. One of the biggest peeves I had with the original toys was how they lacked most, if not all, action. The most you'd ever get would be the arms that move up or down, but the legs were almost always locked in place. It is with so much pleasure to be able to fully move all of his appendages. Then you add in the ankle joint to have the feet move independently too, and you've got a nearly endless amount of poses to be had. I didn't expect that, even on the larger scale, the level of action would be as good as the smaller ones, but Grapple pulls it off. If there's anything at all to be said about the overall style of the robot form, it's only his head that gives me pause. His head catches light, like when you put your finger over a flashlight and the light travels through it. His head also experiences this, like it doesn't even make shadows and pretty much glows. I mean, this is only an issue if you want to take any close-up shots of his face, so, well, if you're not doing that, just disregard this and carry on. Go on. The head also can't move nearly as much as most of the other War for Cybertron characters. But this is a small caveat to an overall solid incarnation of the passionate architect. Here, we're going to follow the rules bestowed upon us by Hasbro. I'm really glad I did, given the manufacturing headaches that ensued. This video became a documentation of what you need to watch out for, whereupon Grapple finds himself in your hands. The crane portion was the primary crux of frustration. I'm not a professional, but I'd be willing to guess that after being molded and assembled, it was never transformed into the truck. Every joint of the crane required much force to move them. Several seams had excess plastic that caused this. After the first transformation, everything did work better. I'm still afraid I'm gonna break it. The folding connecting part that brings the head to the cab and the legs are supposed to snap together, but I haven't found any definitive means of making sure that they don't move. I opted to force it all the way, as that was what the instructions had said. Grapple's arms in both versions are used to become, I guess, what would be the machine mechanism of the crane when it transforms. Obviously, this was done to have a place for the arms to go, because the Mitsubishi Fuso, on which Grapple is based, most certainly doesn't have the overall girth of the Autobot. Alright, time to see the challenge of the crane in first person. The arms joint is so friggin' tight, it basically comes out of its socket because you gotta apply so much pressure. Thankfully, it pops back in. The stuck telescopic arm was an added pleasure. As I said, each of these parts have improved in their moving abilities post first transformation, so no longer must I break a sweat when transforming him. While I placed the gun, or well forced it, to go on the side of the crane itself, there are holes all over the place for you to put it in. But yes, even the gun was a bitch to get it to fit. All in all, while the original already looked great as a vehicle, this update maintains the same level of cool, while bringing the modern styles of the War for Cybertron series. And yes, each of the recolors are also available in the same modern style. Now, for the next portion of this video, I simply wanted it to be a sped up retransformation of Grapple back into robot form. You need to test your knowledge to assure you know how it works, am I right? Well, as you'll see, one of the pegs of the crane that fits into a hole at the feet completely broke off. I mean, I should have seen it coming given all the issues I'd had up until this point, but it was disheartening to say the least. There is a silver lining, courtesy of Hasbro. I obviously had all my evidence to express that the toy was defective in its design, and upon contacting them, Hasbro will be sending me a replacement. No, not another Grapple, as they are out of their inventory, but another Transformer of equal value. Dude, that'd be a bonus to get one I don't already have. But in either case, the disappointment led to satisfaction. After posting some pictures of Grapple in the box to my channel community board, I received a comment from Jared warning me to sand down the very pegs that broke. Well, I'll just pretend that I meant to test that out so that you don't have to. Major hiccup aside, the rest of the transformations worked perfectly and led to the awesome robot form that I'm proud to add to my War for Cybertron collection. Overall, I think both of the toys are really outstanding. Now, the original didn't have legs that moved, but he already had some great arms and accessories to give him some solid playtime in robot form. The big plus of the new one, aside from him actually looking like he's right out of the cartoon, is the detail of the transformations. This is like what I'd imagine one of the masterpieces to be like. So I can only imagine that if I ever acquire one of them, I would be in such awe at transforming it. Thank you as always for checking out my video. I'm super excited to share my collection with you. And well, I just enjoy making videos, whatever the content. That's why it always brings me a smile to see more subscribers, that you would be willing to dog ear my page. If you're not subscribed, that's cool too, but it would really help if you wanted to support my side venture, that perhaps one day will be my front venture? Either way, as promised, we have a non-commentary transformation session incoming. Next time we'll be unboxing and playing with Sunstreaker. Ooh. But until next, have a day.